Introduction: the brain is one of the most fascinating and complex organs in the human body. It is the command center of the body, responsible for controlling thoughts, emotions, movements, and many other essential functions. Understanding the brain's physiology can help us appreciate how it works to maintain life and enable us to perform everyday tasks. In this explanation, we will explore the structure and functions of the brain in a straightforward and accessible way. Structure of the brain: the brain is part of the central nervous system (CNS), which also includes the spinal cord. It is protected by the skull, cushioned by cerebrospinal fluid, and covered by protective layers called meninges. The brain is divided into several key parts, each with unique roles. 1. Cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain and is responsible for higher brain functions like thinking, memory, decision-making, and voluntary movements. It is divided into two hemispheres, right and left, and four lobes: frontal lobe, involved in decision-making, problem-solving, planning, and controlling voluntary movements; parietal lobe, processes sensory information like touch, temperature, and pain; temporal lobe, responsible for hearing, memory, and language comprehension; occipital lobe, processes visual information. 2. Cerebellum. The cerebellum, located below the cerebrum, is responsible for coordination, balance, and fine motor skills. It helps ensure smooth and precise movements. 3. Brainstem. The brainstem connects the brain to the spinal cord and controls essential functions like heart rate, breathing, and digestion. It consists of three parts: midbrain, involved in visual and auditory processing; pons, relays signals between different parts of the brain; medulla oblongata, regulates vital functions like breathing and heartbeat. 4. Limbic system. The limbic system is a group of structures involved in emotions, memory, and motivation. Key components include amygdala, processes emotions, especially fear and pleasure; hippocampus, crucial for forming and retrieving memories; hypothalamus, regulates body temperature, hunger, thirst, and other homeostatic processes; neurons, the building blocks of the brain. The brain's primary functional units are neurons, specialized cells that transmit electrical and chemical signals. The human brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each forming connections with other neurons through structures called synapses, parts of a neuron. Cell body soma contains the nucleus and other organelles, dendrites, branch-like structures that receive signals from other neurons. Axon, a long slender projection that transmits signals to other neurons or muscles. Myelin sheath, a fatty layer that insulates the axon and speeds up signal transmission. Communication between neurons. Neurons communicate via electrical impulses and chemical messengers, called neurotransmitters. When a neuron is stimulated, it generates an electrical signal called an action potential. This signal travels down the axon and triggers the release of neurotransmitters into the synapse, where they bind to receptors on the next neuron, continuing the signal. Brain functions. The brain is responsible for numerous vital functions that can be broadly categorized into cognitive, sensory, motor, and autonomic functions. Cognitive functions. Cognitive functions involve higher-level brain activities such as thinking and problem-solving, managed by the frontal lobe; memory. Short-term memory is processed in the prefrontal cortex, while long-term memory formation involves the hippocampus. Language. The left hemisphere, particularly Broca's and Wernicke's areas, is essential for speech production and comprehension. Sensory functions. The brain processes sensory input from the environment through visual cortex. Occipital lobe, processes images received from the eyes. Auditory cortex. Temporal lobe, interprets sounds. Somatosensory cortex. Parietal lobe, handles touch, temperature, and pain sensations. Motor functions. The motor cortex, located in the frontal lobe, controls voluntary movements. Signals from this area travel through the spinal cord to muscles, enabling coordinated actions like walking, writing, and speaking. Autonomic functions. The brainstem and hypothalamus regulate involuntary processes essential for Survival, such as breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, sleep-wake cycles. Brain plasticity. The brain has a remarkable ability to adapt and reorganize itself, known as neuroplasticity. This adaptability allows the brain to recover from injuries by rewiring neural pathways, learn new skills, and adapt to changes in the environment. Strengthen connections between neurons through repeated use. How the brain uses energy. The brain is a highly energy-demanding organ, using about 20% of the body's total energy. It relies on glucose as its primary energy source, supplied by the blood through an extensive network of blood vessels. Oxygen is also crucial for brain function, and even a brief interruption in oxygen supply can lead to serious consequences. Disorders of the brain. Several conditions can affect the brain's physiology, including stroke, occurs when blood flow to a part of the brain is disrupted, causing cell death. Alzheimer's disease, a degenerative condition characterized by memory loss and cognitive decline. Parkinson's disease, a movement disorder caused by the loss of dopamine-producing neurons. Epilepsy, a neurological condition involving recurrent seizures. Traumatic brain injury. TBI, damage to the brain caused by an external force, keeping the brain healthy to maintain optimal brain function. Consider the following. Exercise improves blood flow to the brain and promotes the growth of new neurons. Healthy diet supports brain health with nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and vitamins. Sleep, essential for memory consolidation and clearing toxins from the brain. Mental stimulation, activities like reading, puzzles, and learning new skills keep the brain active. Stress management, chronic stress can negatively impact brain function, so relaxation techniques are beneficial. Conclusion: the brain is a marvel of biological engineering, orchestrating countless functions that allow us to navigate and understand the world. By understanding its physiology, we can appreciate the intricacies of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Taking steps to care for the brain ensures it remains healthy, enabling us to live fulfilling and productive lives.